If you're living on retirement income, there's a number about the Tesla Model 2 you've probably been hearing everywhere lately. $12,749. And if that number is real, it could completely change what makes sense for getting around in retirement. But here's the uncomfortable part that almost nobody mentions. What if that number isn't real? What if the actual price comes in at $18,000 or even $22,000? For someone still working, that gap might not matter much, but for someone living on a fixed retirement budget, it could mean the difference between a genuinely smart purchase and a very costly mistake. So in this video, we're not chasing rumors. We're going to walk through 3 realistic price scenarios for the Model 2 and answer a far more important question. Does this car still make sense for retirement at any of those prices?
Where did $12,749 come from? Let's start at the beginning, because if you've been following the Tesla Model 2 story, you've probably noticed that $12,749 shows up everywhere. YouTube, Reddit, your nephew's text messages. But almost nobody explains where that number actually came from. Here's the honest answer. It started as a production cost estimate, not a sale price. Industry analysts looked at Tesla's manufacturing process, their new gigacasting technology, and their battery supply agreements, and they projected that Tesla could theoretically build this car for around $12,000 to $13,000 per unit. That is not the same as what Tesla will charge you at the showroom. Think about it like this. A restaurant might pay $4 in ingredients for a steak dinner. That doesn't mean your bill is $4. And here's where it gets even more important for you specifically. There are 3 reasons serious analysts doubt the $12,749 retail price is realistic, at least not for the version you'd actually want to drive. First, the battery. The battery pack is still the most expensive single component in any electric vehicle. Costs have dropped dramatically over the last 5 years. That part is real. But a complete battery system with adequate range still represents a significant portion of the total build cost. Squeezing that down to get under $13,000 retail would require trade-offs that might not serve an older driver well. Second, manufacturing is never free. Tesla still has to pay for the factory floor in Texas, for the workers, for shipping components across the country, for quality control. These costs don't disappear just because the press reports a low number. Third, and this is the one that matters most if you've been paying attention, Tesla has a long history of announcing low prices that don't show up the way people expected. The Model 3 was promised at $35,000 back in 2016. That version did eventually arrive, but years later, in limited quantities, with features stripped out. Most people who wanted a real drivable Model 3 paid $45,000 or more. The Cybertruck went through dramatic price changes between announcement and delivery. These aren't accusations, they're just the pattern. So when someone tells you the Model 2 is definitely $12,749, ask them to show you where Tesla said that, because they didn't. None of that means the car isn't coming. It just means we need to think clearly, not emotionally.
3 realistic price scenarios. Now let's do what this channel is actually here for. Not speculation, not hype. Honest analysis so you can make a smart decision. There are 3 realistic price scenarios for the Tesla Model 2. I'll walk through each one, and more importantly, I'll tell you what each scenario actually means for someone in retirement. Scenario 1, best case, around $12,000 to $14,000. This is the scenario the internet loves to talk about, and it's not impossible. If Tesla executes their new unboxed manufacturing process perfectly, where large sections of the vehicle are cast as single pieces instead of welded from dozens of parts, they could cut production costs dramatically. If their battery supply agreements hold, and if this version of the car is genuinely stripped down to essentials, then $12,000 to $14,000 retail is within reach. What would that mean for you? At this price, the Model 2 becomes cheaper than almost every new compact gas car on the market. Combined with lower fuel costs and nearly zero scheduled maintenance, the 10-year ownership math becomes genuinely compelling. But here's the catch. A $12,000 Tesla is likely a very basic Tesla. Probably no heated seats, likely a smaller battery giving you 200 to 230 miles of range, possibly a smaller screen. The features that make driving safer and more comfortable for someone over 65, the ones we'll talk about in a future video, may not be standard at that price point. If this scenario happens, it's a game changer, but don't plan your budget around it. Scenario 2, most likely, around $17,000 to $19,000. This is where most credible analysts land when they run the actual numbers. A base Model 2 with adequate range, probably 260 to 300 miles, reasonable safety features, and a usable interior, priced between $17,000 and $19,000. This is not a bad price. In fact, it's still lower than a new Honda Civic, a Toyota Corolla, or most compact SUVs. And unlike those cars, your fuel bill drops from $150 to $200 a month down to roughly $30 to $40. Your maintenance schedule goes from oil changes every 5,000 miles and transmission service every 30,000 to almost nothing.
At this price, the Model 2 is competitive, not revolutionary, competitive. For a retiree who drives 8,000 to 10,000 miles a year, owns the car outright, and can charge at home, the numbers work. It won't break the bank, it won't drain the savings account, and it'll probably be the last car you ever have to deal with maintenance on. Scenario 3, higher reality, around $21,000 to $23,000. This is the scenario that nobody wants to talk about, but which history suggests is entirely possible. If Tesla faces supply chain pressure, if battery material costs stay elevated, if they decide to protect their profit margin, the real price that you'd pay for a properly equipped Model 2 could land closer to $22,000. At $22,000, this car is no longer cheap. It's an entry-level Tesla. It competes with a base Model 3 from a few years ago. Does that make it a bad choice? Not necessarily, but it changes the math, and it changes the emotional framing. You're not buying a budget car at $22,000. You're making a real financial commitment, one that deserves serious thought, not impulse. If you're living on $2,200 a month from Social Security and a modest pension, a $22,000 purchase is roughly a year of income. That's not a decision you make because a YouTube video got you excited. That's a decision you make after running your own numbers carefully. The real cost of owning any car. Here's something most car videos never get right, especially for people in retirement. The sticker price is not the cost of the car. Let me show you what I mean. Say you're currently driving a 2017 Camry. You paid it off. You think it's free, but it isn't. Gas, if you're driving around 9,000 miles a year at current prices, is running you somewhere between $130 and $170 a month. That's $1,600 to $2,000 every single year just to fill the tank. Oil changes 4 times a year at $70 to $90 each, another $300 annually. Tire rotation and balance, $120. The brake job that came out of nowhere last spring, $380. The transmission flush the dealership recommended, $250. Add it all up conservatively, and a paid-off gas car costs the average retiree between $2,800 and $4,000 per year just to keep running. Over 10 years, that's $28,000 to $40,000 on a car you already own. Now compare that to an EV. No oil, no transmission, no exhaust system, no spark plugs.
Regenerative braking means your brake pads last 2 to 3 times longer than on a gas car. Charging at home costs roughly $0.03 to $0.04 per mile, compared to $0.16 to $0.16 per mile for gasoline. The Model 2 at $18,000, charging at home, driven 9,000 miles per year, costs somewhere around $270 to $360 in electricity annually, plus tires, plus an annual inspection. That's it. Over 10 years, the difference between keeping a gas car and switching to a car like the Model 2 could easily be $20,000 to $30,000 in your pocket. That's not marketing, that's arithmetic. And for someone in retirement, where every dollar has a job, where there are no more paychecks coming, where a surprise $900 repair can genuinely disrupt the month, predictable costs aren't just convenient, they're essential.
What Tesla's own history teaches us. I want to spend a few minutes on something that might feel uncomfortable, but that I think is critically important before you make any decision about this car. Tesla has a complicated relationship with its own promises. That's not an insult. It's a fact that the company itself would probably acknowledge. Elon Musk is famous for announcing ambitious targets and then adjusting the timeline, the price, or the features as reality sets in. Sometimes those adjustments work in your favor. Sometimes they don't. The original Model 3 at $35,000, it took 3 years longer than promised to arrive. The Cybertruck was announced in 2019 with a starting price that looked very different by the time actual trucks started rolling out of the factory. Early Tesla owners have told stories of cars they reserved based on a feature set that changed before delivery. So what does this mean for you? It doesn't mean Tesla is dishonest. It means Tesla operates in an industry where costs shift. Manufacturing processes take time to optimize, and early announcements are sometimes aspirational. That's true for Ford, it's true for GM, it's probably true for every automaker that's ever made a bold announcement. What it means practically is this: don't make a financial decision today based on a number that hasn't been confirmed. Don't cancel your current car insurance, don't sell your vehicle. Don't send a deposit to anyone who isn't Tesla's official website. Here's the flip side, though, and this matters. Even when Tesla's prices came in higher than announced, their long-term ownership costs have generally stayed competitive. The electricity is still cheap. The maintenance is still minimal. Tesla owners consistently report spending less per mile than people driving comparable gas vehicles. So the lesson isn't don't trust Tesla. The lesson is trust the math over time, not the headline number.
When price stops being the main question. I want to say something that might surprise you. For many people watching this video, the price of the Model 2 is actually not the most important question. I've talked with a lot of men in their late 60s and 70s about this, and what comes up again and again, underneath the talk about gas prices and repair bills, is something deeper: the fear of losing the ability to drive. Because losing the ability to drive isn't just an inconvenience, it's the beginning of dependence. It's the end of being able to get yourself to the doctor, to your grandkids' game, to the coffee shop where you meet your friends every Tuesday. It's handing over a piece of your autonomy that you may never get back. And here's where the technology conversation becomes genuinely interesting in ways that go beyond horsepower and range. The Model 2, based on everything we know about its design direction, is being built around a philosophy of assisted driving, not autonomous driving, but assisted. There's a meaningful difference. Assisted means the car helps you stay in your lane when fatigue sets in on a long drive. It means the car automatically maintains safe following distance in stop-and-go traffic, so your right leg gets a break. It means cameras watch your blind spots constantly, and a gentle alert comes when something moves into them. Not a jarring beep, just a calm signal. That's not the car driving instead of you. That's the car making you a safer driver.
For someone who started to feel less confident on the freeway at night, for someone whose reaction time isn't what it was at 45, for someone whose doctor has suggested they think carefully about how much longer they should drive long distances, that kind of assistance isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. And it may do something no price tag can do. Add 3, 4, 5 more years of independent driving to your life. What is that worth? I'd argue it's worth more than the gap between $14,000 and $22,000. But only if the technology is simple enough to actually use. A car full of features you don't understand, a touchscreen that takes 3 menus to find the heat, a system that beeps at you 17 times on a 10-minute drive. That's not help, that's stress. That's a reason to park the car and stop driving sooner. So when evaluating any new vehicle, the question isn't just what does it cost? The question is, does it make driving feel safer and easier, or does it make driving feel more complicated? If the answer is simpler and safer, the price becomes much easier to justify.
The question you should actually be asking. Let me bring everything together. The internet is obsessed with whether the Model 2 is $12,749. I understand why. It's a compelling number. But I want to offer you a different set of questions. These are the ones that actually matter. First, what will it cost me to own this car for 10 years? Total. Not the purchase price. The purchase price plus insurance, plus charging or fuel, plus maintenance, minus whatever your current car is costing you. Run that number. If the Model 2 at $18,000 saves you $2,500 a year in fuel and maintenance, it's paid for itself in 7 years. If you're 67 right now, that math carries you to 74, likely still driving, still independent, with more money left in your account. Second, is this car simple enough for me to use every day without frustration? Physical buttons for the heat and AC, a clear speedometer you can read at a glance, a backup door release that works with one hand if the power ever fails, assisted driving that helps without demanding you learn a new system every month. These aren't small details. For a driver over 65, these are the difference between a car that gives you confidence and one that makes you anxious. Third, will this car help me keep driving longer? A car that reduces fatigue on long trips, monitors blind spots, and gently corrects lane drift isn't just safer today, it's an investment in your independence for the next decade. That has a value that doesn't show up on any sticker. And fourth, the question I want to leave you with today. If Tesla's Model 2 comes in at $18,000 and the 10-year math shows you saving $20,000 compared to your current car, is there any reason not to take it seriously? I'm not telling you to buy it. Tesla hasn't even announced this car officially yet. What I'm telling you is this: understand the logic before you make a decision either way. Don't get swept up in the excitement. Don't dismiss it because the internet overhyped the price. Look at the numbers that actually apply to your life, your mileage, your income, your driving needs, and make a clear-headed call. That's what this channel is here to help you do.
Tesla has not confirmed the Model 2's price. They haven't confirmed the features. They haven't opened reservations. And if anyone contacts you claiming otherwise, by email, by phone, by text, that is a scam. Do not send money to anyone. Tesla only takes reservations and deposits through their official website. When the announcement comes, and it will come, we'll cover it here with the same honesty we've brought to this video. No hype, no panic. Just clear analysis that helps you decide what's right for your situation. Now, I want to hear from you, and I read every single comment. If the Tesla Model 2 comes in at $18,000, would you seriously consider it for your retirement? Comment, "Yes, I'm watching," if that price works for your budget. Comment, "Too high, gas car wins," if you think the economics still don't make sense. And if you're somewhere in the middle, still doing the math, comment, "Thinking it through."
Your answers shape what we cover next, because this channel isn't about cars, it's about helping men like you make the biggest financial decisions of retirement with clear eyes and solid information. If this video helped you think more clearly about this, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because next week we are going inside the one feature that almost nobody is talking about. What happens to the Model 2's door if the power fails at the worst possible moment? The battery dies, you're in an accident, you need to get out. We're going to walk through exactly what Tesla's engineers built and whether it's something you can actually trust with your life. That video goes up Thursday. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for watching. Drive safe, and remember, the best financial decision you'll ever make is the one you made after understanding it fully, not the one someone pressured you into before you were ready. See you Thursday.